Hi guys and welcome back to my channel Bookish Drama. My name is Ethan and today I'm here to do a wrap up for you. I am going to be showing the books I read during the months of February and March, and then at the end I'm going to show you what books I am planning on reading next. I am doing this bi-monthly wrap up because, as you probably have guessed, I have not been reading a lot. University is killing me. I don't have a lot of time. I probably won't have time to read a lot until the summer, and yeah. In these 2 months, I have been able to read 4 books, which is not that bad, and they are quite big too. They have a reasonable size. Well, one of them is not a book, it is a novella, but it is more of a longer novella than usual, so I think it was pretty okay for me. I'm quite content, although of course I would have loved to read more, but without further ado, let's go straight into the books. The first novel I finished was Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second novel in the second Mistborn era. In this book, we follow the same characters as in The Alloy of Law. That book was the introduction to this second era that takes place 300 years later. In that book, we get to know the characters and we are presented a problem that is kind of solved. In this book, we follow a complete different storyline with the same characters, but it has basically nothing to do with the first one. I kind of liked it a little bit more than the first one. I gave it 4 stars because it was not perfect, but I quite enjoyed it. In this book, we get to know the characters a little bit more and we fall in love with them even more than we did before. As I finished this book a long time ago, kind of 2 months ago, I don't remember that much about it. I'm going to be here not knowing what to say about all these books that I'm going to be showing you, but I mean, sorry if I don't make any sense or if my opinions are not as on point as in other videos, but I did not take any notes on the things I wanted to say about any of these novels, so sorry, but yeah. What I enjoyed the most about this is that in the story, some creatures that are important in the first Mistborn era are very important here. Some of my favorite characters that are immortal in the first era appear here, and that was super cool to see how they evolved, how they are now, how they are organized and all of that. It is very interesting to see that and getting to know more about them, because in the first era we know some things, but in here we learn a lot more, and they are a big part of the story in this novel. The problem in this novel is solved, but we get presented with a bigger challenge that could affect the Cosmere as a whole, and I was so excited for that because it is pretty intense and I didn't know where it was going to go. So when I finished this book, I jumped straight into the next one, which is The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson as well. This is a little bit longer, and I love this cover. Can we appreciate how beautiful this is? Like, oh my gosh, can you see it? It is gorgeous, and in person it is even more pretty. Like, I fucking love these UK paperbacks. Well, the first 2 novels in the series take place in Elendel, which is the main city in this planet, which is Scadrial. But here we get to explore a little bit more, and we go to different cities, mainly New Zeran, or New Zeran, I don't know how it is pronounced. Quite a big chunk of the story takes place there, and also in an unknown location. I don't want to give it away, but in another place. In this book, we get to know more cultures within this story. I'm not going to say too much about that either, but yeah, it was very interesting. In this book, Brandon Sanderson did things that I would have never imagined he would do. Let me explain that. For example, he included his first LGBTQ character in this novel, which, I mean, it is amazing because in one of my previous videos, I said that he needed to do better and include this, and he finally did here, which I am so thankful for. I mean, it was only briefly mentioned and not really handled the best way possible, but at least we have the representation here, which is a huge step, although he needs to do better still and try to improve what he's done. The first Mistborn trilogy also plays a big part in the story because our characters are trying to find some artifact which is called the Bands of Mourning, which is the bands that the Lord Ruler wore in the first Mistborn trilogy. So they are trying to find this magic because it is very powerful and it has a lot of potential in the world. I'm not going to say how, but it is very important for them to find it. And yeah, doing so, they discover some secrets that are going to blow your mind because they implied a lot of things for the first Mistborn trilogy that you didn't know, and now that you know them, you are left like, oh my gosh, what the fuck, like, what? And the ending of this book is like so intense that when I finished it, I needed to jump straight into a novella which is here in the Arcanum Unbounded. It is called Mistborn's Secret History, and it takes place during the first Mistborn trilogy, and this is very important. It is an alternative story and viewpoint from a character we all love, and I cannot say a lot about that. I thought that in this story we were going to go through one path, but we went in an opposite direction, and I was not expecting that, and that is why I gave this novella 5 stars. The other 2 books in the series, and the first one as well, were 4 stars, but this novella was amazing. Well, maybe the fact that it takes place during the first Mistborn trilogy, during the whole trilogy, let me say, because that is a very important. I mean, it was just a masterpiece. I don't know how he was able to make all these pieces fit together. Like, it was insanely good. And I'm so mad because I cannot properly speak about what it is. It is basically about other realms. In Brandon Sanderson books, there are 3 realms: the physical realm, the spiritual realm, and the cognitive realm. And this book takes place in the cognitive realm, wasn't it? Or was it the spiritual? I'm not sure, but in one of those 2. And it is insane. It is very emotional as well because all of the characters in the Mistborn trilogy appear here. Well, not all of them, but some of them. And it is just insane. And we also get to know some behind-the-scenes stuff about the Cosmere, which was very interesting, very nice. We get to see Chris and Naz on screen for the first time both together because in the Bands of Mourning, one of them appears. So yeah, I just basically love this book a lot. And the last novel I read during this month is the biggest one yet here in this wrap-up, and it is finally City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. As you may know, I have been rereading the whole Shadowhunter Chronicles, let's say, just in preparation to get to this book, because when they came out, I didn't read this one, so I needed to reread all of them and keep on with the series, with this one, and then I'm going to go into the Dark Artifices and all of that, but first I needed to read this. And after all these years, I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did the first time I read the books, and okay, I didn't enjoy it as much, of course, but this book kind of surprised me. It was better, still not perfect at all. Reading this series, you can see that characters make stupid decisions, and Clary, mainly Clary, she's a bit not my cup of tea, let's say. But the book was fairly interesting. The alternate dimension things here were really good, and I love to get to know the characters from Los Angeles that we're going to be following in the next series. They were okay. I'm not a huge fan of them yet, but I think they have potential to be the main characters of a really great story, but I am not really drawn to them yet. I loved how everything was tied together, and well, when this book came out, Cassandra Clare announced that 6 people were going to die, and they were minor characters, like, please, Cassandra, you should have killed some of the main cast, but you didn't. That is my main disappointment, that consequences were not as harsh as they should have been, because what goes on here was pretty intense, and the final consequences were not that harsh, and the one thing that went bad was kind of resolved at the end, so, I mean, it should have been a little bit better. Now that the wrap-up's done, I'm going to show you the books I'm going to be reading now. The book I'm currently in the middle of is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. As you know, I reread the first book in order to continue on with the series in the month of September, and I still didn't pick it up until now. I am finally reading it, and I am very excited. It is quite good so far, although I am going to keep my thoughts for the next wrap-up. Then what I also want to read is the next book in the Shadowhunters Chronicles that I have to read, which is The Baying Chronicles, which is a collection of 10 short stories, I think, and I am very excited for this. Although Magnus Vane is not one of my favorite characters, I think he's a very well-loved character, but I am not such a huge fan of him, so I don't know if this book is really going to be for me. I think it's going to be pretty interesting because we're going to see kind of the history of Shadowhunters and Downworlders, which is going to be very interesting. I hope to see some of the characters from the Infernal Devices also, which is going to be just great and amazing. I cannot wait to read from them again. And yeah, I'm a bit skeptical, but also excited at the same time. And last but not least, I have to finish with the Brandon Sanderson book. The next one I have to read is this one, White Sand, a graphic novel, his first graphic novel. Yeah, this is my Spanish copy. I don't have this book in English. I have all of them in English except for this one, so I need to buy that soon. And yeah, the artwork is like this. It takes place on a planet called Taldane, which is very interesting because it is kind of a desert, as you can see right here. Well, that is not the best example. Let me show you the first, like here. This is how the planet looks like. And yeah, very interested to know what he does in a graphic novel format. So those were all the books that I have read and that I am planning on reading. If you enjoyed this video, give it a huge thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!